shape is always going to be a circle. Okay? Shh. Quiet, please. So, going over some different parts of a cylinder. The axis of a cylinder is the segment with endpoints that are the centers of the bases. Okay, so in our picture here, your axis will go between the center points. Okay, so that would be your axis right here. In this one, your axis connects, again, your center points, so this one isn't perpendicular between the two, but that's still the axis of your cylinder. If the axis is also an altitude, then the cylinder is a right cylinder. Okay, altitude again meaning it is the distance between your two bases. It's the height of that cylinder. Okay, that's what altitude means. If it is perpendicular, it's this right cylinder here. Okay, so it has to be perpendicular to that base. If the axis is not in altitude, then it is an oblique cylinder. Okay, that's the one that's kind of leaning sideways. So your axis right here is not perpendicular to that circle. Your altitude would be considered on the outside of that cylinder. Okay, so altitude has to be perpendicular between your bases. Now, since this is a cylinder, and we're still going to look at surface area, we still need to locate that base shape. For a cylinder, your base is always a circle. Okay, so it's easy to locate your base shape in this case. As in a prism, it could have been a triangle, it could be a rectangle, it could be a trapezoid, it could be a hexagon, okay, it could be a square. In a cylinder, your base is always a circle. So we can find lateral and surface area of a cylinder. The lateral area is the area of the curved surface. So again, lateral area is the area around your two bases. So that's your curved surface around it. So again, we have this net. So in the net for the cylinder, the curved surface is a rectangle. Okay, so again, your net lays everything out flat and two-dimensional. So this curved surface that you see here in our actual cylinder, if I were to spread that curved surface out, I would make this rectangular shape here. So now this distance around our base is our circumference, and that circumference gets stretched out along this line right here. Okay? Then our height of our cylinder, which is this length, is right here in our net. Okay, now since we make this rectangle, and the area of a rectangle is base times height, I would need to multiply the base, which is your circumference of 2 pi r, times h. Okay, and that will give me the lateral area. Okay, so lateral area, just like in a prism, is going to be P times H, where P is the circumference of your circle. Okay, then surface area, just like in our prism, we have our lateral area, P times H, plus 2 times B. Okay, so this is, again, our surface area formula. Now, to find P, we need to use the circumference formula since our base is a circle. Okay, so here, this is your P value, that is the circumference. Okay, and then we have multiplied by H plus 2 times B, and since the base, again, is a circle, the area for a circle is pi r squared. Okay, so we'll use pi r squared for the area of the circle. So our variables, P is the perimeter of the base, And again, we use circumference to find that. H is the height of the cylinder. And B is the area of the base. Okay, and since our base is going to be a circle for each cylinder, for this one we will use pi r squared. Okay, questions before I go through this first example here? Put it up a little bit so you can see it. All right, so number one, we want to find the surface area of this cylinder. In this cylinder, I'm given the entire diameter of that base circle. Okay, so when you see the diameter drawn in like that and it's pointing or it's saying that this length is 15 millimeters, it's talking about the whole diameter. Okay, so our diameter is 15 millimeters, and we also have this length right here of 18 millimeters. Now, since it is a cylinder, our base shape is a circle. Okay, and just like yesterday, I'm going to solve for P, H, and B before I plug it into the surface area formula. So to find P, since it's the perimeter of our base, the perimeter of a circle is circumference. So I can use 2 pi r, or I can use pi times the diameter. Okay, so my diameter is 15, so I have pi times 15. Okay, and I would just plug that into my calculator, and I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth to get 47.12, and that is in millimeters. Okay, next I want H. Okay, H is the distance between your two bases. What's this distance between the two bases? 18. Okay, so it's that perpendicular distance between the two bases. Okay, last thing I need is B. Okay, that's the area of the base. Since our base is a circle, we'll use pi r squared. Now, since our diameter is 15, our radius has to be 7.5. So I will plug in 7.5 for r and square it. Okay, so don't plug in 15. 15 is the diameter. Plug in 7.5 for the radius. Okay, and once I square 7.5 and multiply it by pi, you should get 176.71 millimeters squared. Okay, so next I can find the surface area by plugging in each of my values into my formula. Okay, so P is 47.12 times H is 18 plus 2 times B. B is 176.71. Okay, so you can then just plug that into your calculator, and you should get 1,201.58 millimeters squared. And that would be your surface area of that cylinder. Okay, questions on how I did number 1? All right, then next one. In these two problems, we want to find the lateral area and the surface area of each cylinder. Okay, so we still have to find P, H, and B. And we're going to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so first thing I want to do is find P, which is the perimeter of the base. Since it is a cylinder, your base shape is this circle. And in this one, I am given the radius. Okay, the radius is 13. So I can use 2 pi r to find that perimeter. And r is 13. So multiplying 2 times 13 times pi to get 81.7 yards. Okay, next I need h. H is the distance between your two bases, or the height of your cylinder. Okay, that'll be 8 yards. And then I also need B, which is the area of the base. So I need the area of that circle. So we use pi r squared, and r is 13. So I have pi times 13 squared. And that will be equal to about 530.9 yards squared. Okay, so now that I have P, H, and B, I can find the lateral area and the surface area. For lateral area, we just use P times H. Okay, so P was 81.7 times our H value is 8. Okay, multiply those together. And I got 653.6 yards squared. Okay, then to find surface area, your formula again is P times H plus 2B. Now I just found P times H, so I can plug in that 653 for pH. So I have 653.6 plus 2 times our area of the base. Our B value is 530.9. Okay, and that will equal about 1,715.4 yards squared. So make sure you can enter that into your calculator correctly to get that answer. Okay, questions on number 2, finding the lateral area or finding the surface area. All right, then do number 3. Problem number 3. Is it empty?
No. Mrs. I don't think it's sorry.
We are doing
Oh, that's not the note sheet. What's your writing? Are you? Oh, that's okay. Yeah, Carter. Here's point. There'll be 2 seconds. Your work. No.
All right, going through number 3. Finding the perimeter. Again, our base shape is a circle, so we have to use the circumference, okay, which is 2 pi r, or pi times the diameter. Since I am given the diameter is 20.4, I can take pi times that 20.4 to get 64.1 centimeters. Okay, then our height is the distance between our two bases, or distance between our two circles. That is 22 centimeters. And then B, or area of the base. This time we're given the diameter, so we have to divide that by 2 to get the radius, so that we can use pi r squared. So we use pi times 10.2 squared. To get 326.9 centimeters squared. So now that I have P, H, and B, I can find the lateral area by multiplying P and H together. So we have 64.1 times 22. Okay, that is 1,410.2 centimeters squared. Okay, then finding the surface area, that is P times H plus 2B. I just found P times H. That is 1,410.2. Then add on 2 times our area of the base, which is 326.9. To get a total surface area of 2,064. And that is in centimeters squared. Okay, questions on surface area or lateral area of a cylinder? It's very similar to what we did yesterday. It's the same formula since you do have two bases. The only difference is your base is always going to be a circle. So you have to use circumference and pi r squared for the area.